What happens when two strong-willed women clash on live television and one of them refuses to back down from the most uncomfortable questions? Today, we're diving into the explosive confrontation that left audiences speechless and one guest storming off set. Before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think really triggered this entire meltdown. The Kelly Clarkson Show had always been known for its warm, welcoming atmosphere. Kelly's genuine personality and her ability to connect with guests made it a favorite destination for celebrities looking to share their stories in a comfortable setting. But on this particular day, the atmosphere in the studio felt different from the moment the cameras started rolling. Meghan Markle walked onto the set with her usual confident stride, flashing that practiced smile that had become her trademark. She was there to promote her latest venture, a lifestyle brand that promised to empower women through mindful living. Kelly, ever the professional, greeted her with enthusiasm. "Welcome to the show, Meghan. I have to say you look absolutely radiant today," Kelly said, her voice carrying that signature warmth that had made her America's sweetheart. "Thank you so much, Kelly. I'm thrilled to be here." "Your show has always been one of my favorites," Meghan replied, settling into the plush chair with practiced ease. The interview began smoothly enough. They discussed Meghan's new business venture, her passion for philanthropy, and her life in California. But Kelly, known for her genuine curiosity and tendency to ask the questions others wouldn't, had done her homework. She had noticed patterns in Meghan's previous interviews, inconsistencies, that had raised eyebrows among media observers. "You know, Meghan, I've been watching some of your recent interviews, and there's something I'm curious about," Kelly said, leaning forward slightly. "You've mentioned your difficult relationship with your family several times, but I noticed that your story seems to change depending on who you're talking to. Can you help me understand that?" The question hung in the air like a storm cloud. Meghan's smile faltered for just a moment before she recovered, but Kelly had caught it. The audience sensed the shift in energy, and the studio fell unusually quiet. "I'm not sure what you mean, Kelly," Meghan said, her voice taking on a slightly defensive tone. "I've always been consistent about my experiences." "Well, let me be more specific," Kelly continued, her journalist instincts kicking in. "In your interview with Oprah, you mentioned that you felt unsupported by your family from early on, but in your podcast last month, you spoke about how your father was your biggest champion growing up. Those seem like contradictory statements." Meghan's posture stiffened. "I think you're taking things out of context, Kelly. My relationship with my family is complex, and it's evolved over time. I don't think it's fair to cherry-pick statements and try to create some kind of narrative." "I'm not trying to create a narrative," Kelly responded, her voice remaining calm but firm. "I'm trying to understand your narrative. Your story is important, and I think our audience deserves clarity." The tension in the studio was palpable now. Camera operators exchanged glances, and producers in the control room leaned forward in their chairs. This wasn't the typical Kelly Clarkson Show interview, and everyone knew it. "Look, Kelly," Meghan said, her voice rising slightly, "I came here to talk about my business and my positive work in the world. I didn't come here to be like I'm on trial." "But isn't your personal story part of your business?" Kelly asked. "You market yourself as someone who overcame adversity, who broke barriers. Your brand is built on your personal narrative. Don't you think people have a right to understand what really happened?" Meghan's eyes flashed with anger. "What really happened? Are you suggesting I'm lying?" "I'm suggesting that your story changes, and that's confusing for people who look up to you," Kelly replied. "For instance, you've talked about feeling isolated and having no support system, but you also had a successful acting career. You traveled the world. You had financial security. Help me understand how those things can both be true." The audience was completely silent now, sensing they were witnessing something unprecedented. Meghan's carefully constructed public persona was being challenged in real time, and she was struggling to maintain her composure. "You clearly don't understand what it's like to be a woman of color in this industry," Meghan said, her voice sharp. "With emotion, you can't possibly understand the challenges I've faced." Kelly's expression remained neutral, but her eyes showed a flicker of something, surprise perhaps, or disappointment. "Actually, Meghan, I do understand challenges. I've faced my own struggles in this industry. I've been criticized for my weight, for my background, for speaking my mind, but I've never changed my story about those struggles." "This is ridiculous," Meghan snapped. You're attacking me because you're jealous of my success, of my platform, of my ability to create change in the world." The accusation hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Kelly's face flushed, and for a moment, her professional composure cracked jealous. "Meghan, I built my career on my own merit. I didn't marry into my success." The words hit like a thunderbolt. Meghan's face went pale, then red with fury. "How dare you?" she said, standing up abruptly. "How dare you minimize my achievements, my work, my impact?" "I'm not minimizing anything," Kelly said, also standing now. "I'm asking questions that any journalist would ask. If you can't handle basic scrutiny, maybe you shouldn't be in the public eye." The studio erupted in shocked whispers. This was no longer an interview. It was a full-blown confrontation, and neither woman was backing down. "You know what, Kelly?" Meghan said, her voice dripping with venom. "This is exactly the kind of treatment I was talking about. This is why I had to leave. This is why I had to protect my family from people like you." Kelly's jaw dropped. "People like me? What exactly does that mean?" "People who tear down successful women. People who can't stand to see someone rise above their circumstances and make something of themselves." Meghan shot back, her hands gesturing wildly. "You're sitting there in your little talk show bubble, pretending to be America's sweetheart, but you're just another bully with a microphone." The audience gasped audibly. Kelly's face went from flushed to white-hot angry. "I asked you legitimate questions about inconsistencies in your public statements. If that makes me a bully, then every journalist in America is a bully." "Don't you dare compare yourself to real journalists," Meghan snapped. "Real journalists understand nuance. They understand that people's stories are complex, that experiences can be interpreted differently over time. You're just looking for a gotcha moment for your ratings." Kelly laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. "My ratings? Meghan, my show is doing just fine without manufactured drama. I don't need to create controversy to be successful. Some of us earned our success through talent, not through strategic relationships." "Strategic relationships?" Meghan's voice rose to nearly a shout. "You think I strategically fell in love? You think I strategically built a life with someone I care about? You're even more pathetic than I thought. What's pathetic is using your personal relationships as a shield every time someone asks you a difficult question," Kelly fired back. "You can't have it both ways, Meghan. You can't profit from your story and then act offended when people want to verify that story. Verify my story." Meghan's laugh was bitter and harsh. "Who appointed you as the truth police? Who gave you the authority to decide what's real and what's not about my life?" "I'm not the truth police," Kelly said, her voice steady despite her obvious anger. "I'm a talk show host asking questions that millions of people want answered. Questions about why your version of events keeps changing. Questions about why everyone who used to be close to you has a different story to tell." "Everyone who used to be close to me?" Meghan's eyes blazed. "You mean the people who sold me out for money? The people who betrayed my trust for their 15 minutes of fame, those people?" "I mean your father, your sister, your former friends, your former colleagues," Kelly said. "When everyone around you tells the same story, and your story is different, people start to wonder." "People start to wonder," Meghan repeated mockingly. "Or people start to pile on because it's easier to tear down someone who's achieved something than to build something themselves." Kelly shook her head in disbelief. "This is incredible. You're literally proving my point right now. Instead of addressing the questions, you're attacking everyone who asks them." "I'm defending myself against character assassination," Meghan said, her voice shaking with rage. "I'm defending my right to tell my own story without being interrogated by someone who has no idea what I've been through." "But that's just it," Kelly said, leaning forward. "We don't know what you've been through because your story keeps changing. One day you're a victim, the next day you're a survivor, the next day you're a hero. Which is it?" "Maybe I'm all of those things," Meghan shot back. "Maybe people are complex and can't be reduced to simple narratives that fit neatly into your little television segments." "Complex is one thing," Kelly said. "Contradictory is another. You can't claim you had no support system while simultaneously talking about all the people who helped you. You can't say you were broke while living in a mansion. You can't say you were silenced while having the biggest platform in the world." "I never said I was broke," Meghan protested. "I said I felt financially vulnerable. There's a difference. Financially vulnerable while living in a multi-million-dollar home." Kelly's voice was incredulous. "Do you hear yourself right now?" "You're twisting my words," Meghan said, but her voice lacked conviction. "You're taking everything out of context." "I'm using your exact words," Kelly said, "from interviews that are recorded that people can watch. I'm not making anything up. You're making up a narrative that fits your agenda," Meghan accused. "You're trying to make me look like a liar and a fraud." "I'm not trying to make you look like anything," Kelly said, her voice rising. "I'm just pointing out inconsistencies in your public statements. If that makes you uncomfortable, maybe you should think about why." "It makes me uncomfortable because it's an attack," Meghan said. "It's a coordinated attack designed to discredit me and everything I've worked for." "Coordinated by who?" Kelly asked. "By me? By myself? I came up with these questions on my own, based on things you said publicly. There's no conspiracy here, Meghan. There's just accountability." "Accountability?" Meghan laughed bitterly. "Where's the accountability for the people who've attacked me? Where's the accountability for the media that's hounded me and my family? Where's the accountability for the system that tried to destroy me?" "What system?" Kelly demanded. "You married into one of the most privileged families in the world. You had access to resources most people can only dream of. You had a platform that millions of people would die for. What system tried to destroy you?" "The same system that's trying to destroy me right now," Meghan said, gesturing toward Kelly. "The same system that can't stand to see a strong woman speak her truth. Your truth." Kelly's voice was sharp with frustration. "Which version of your truth? The one from last week or the one from last month?" "I've been consistent," Meghan insisted, but her voice wavered. "I've always been consistent about the core issues." "No, you haven't," Kelly said flatly. "And that's the problem. People want to support you, Meghan. They want to believe in your message, but they can't when your message keeps changing." The confrontation had reached a fever pitch. Both women were standing now, facing each other across the small space that separated their chairs. The audience sat in stunned silence, watching what felt like a car crash in slow motion. The silence in the studio was deafening. Security personnel had quietly moved closer to the stage, sensing the volatile situation. Kelly's producers were frantically signaling from the control room, but Kelly wasn't backing down. "You want to know what I think?" Meghan said, her voice now dangerously quiet. "I think you're threatened by women who don't play by your rules. Women who refuse to be diminished by small-minded people with small-minded questions." Kelly repeated, her voice incredulous. "Asking for consistency is small-minded. Expecting honesty from public figures is small-minded. Expecting people to perform their trauma for your entertainment is small-minded," Meghan shot back. "Expecting people to package their pain into neat little sound bites that fit your narrative is small-minded." "Nobody's asking you to perform trauma," Kelly said, her patience finally snapping. "We're asking you to tell the truth. One truth. The same truth every time." "My truth is my truth," Meghan said, her voice rising again. "I don't owe you or anyone else a performance of consistency. You owe your supporters honesty," Kelly fired back. "You owe the people who believed in you, defended you, who supported you through everything, the basic respect of a coherent story." "I've given them everything," Meghan said, her voice cracking with emotion. "I've given them my heart, my soul, my entire life. I've sacrificed everything for the greater good." "What have you sacrificed?" Kelly demanded. "You live in a mansion in California. You have Netflix deals, book deals, speaking engagements worth millions. You have security, staff, unlimited resources. What exactly did you sacrifice?" "My privacy," Meghan said, tears forming in her eyes. "My relationships, my sense of safety, my ability to live a normal life. You gave up privacy the moment you decided to be a public figure," Kelly said, her voice softer but still firm. "You chose to be in the spotlight. You chose to tell your story publicly. You can't have the benefits of fame without the scrutiny that comes with it." "I never chose to be attacked," Meghan said, wiping at her eyes. "I never chose to be vilified and torn apart by people who don't even know me." "Then why do you keep putting yourself in positions where that happens?" Kelly asked. "Why do you keep doing interviews if you can't handle the questions?" "Because I have important work to do," Meghan said, her voice strengthening. "Because I have a platform and a responsibility to use it for good." "Then use it responsibly," Kelly said. "Tell the truth. Be consistent. Stop changing your story every time it's convenient." "I don't change my story," Meghan protested. but her voice lacked conviction. I evolve. I grow. I learn new things about myself and my experiences. That's not what this is, Kelly said. This is revisionist history. This is changing facts to fit whatever narrative serves you best in the moment. You don't know what you're talking about, Meghan said, her anger returning. You don't know me. You don't know my story. You don't know what I've been through. I know what you've told the world, Kelly said. Multiple different versions of what you've told the world, and they don't add up. They don't add up to you, Meghan said. They don't fit your narrow understanding of what my experience should look like. They don't fit reality, Kelly said bluntly, and that's the problem. Meghan stood there for a moment, her chest rising and falling rapidly. The makeup around her eyes was smudged, her carefully styled hair disheveled. She looked around the studio at the shocked faces of the audience, at the camera operators who were still rolling, at Kelly, who stood waiting for her response. You know what? Meghan said finally, her voice eerily calm. I don't have to stand here and take this abuse. I don't have to subject myself to this character assassination. It's not character assassination, Kelly said. It's accountability. Call it whatever you want, Meghan said, grabbing her purse from beside her chair. I'm done. I'm done with this interview. I'm done with this show. And I'm done with people like you who think they have the right to judge me. People like me, Kelly asked. You mean people who ask questions? People who hide behind the pretense of journalism to tear down successful women, Meghan said, backing toward the edge of the stage. People who are so threatened by authentic voices that they have to try to discredit them. If your voice was authentic, it wouldn't be so easy to discredit, Kelly said. The words hitting like a physical blow. Meghan stopped dead in her tracks. What did you just say? You heard me? Kelly said, not backing down. If your story was true, if your experiences were real, they wouldn't contradict each other. Truth is consistent. Meghan. Lies are what change depending on the audience. How dare you call me a liar? Meghan said, her voice shaking with rage. How dare you stand there and question my lived experience? I'm questioning your version of your lived experience, Kelly said. Because you've given us multiple versions, and they can't all be true. They can all be true, Meghan insisted. Truth is complex. Experience is complex. Just because you can't understand complexity doesn't mean it's not real. What I can't understand is why someone would keep changing their story if it was true. To begin with, Kelly said, what I can't understand is why everyone who knows you seems to have a different version of events than you do. Because they're all lying, Meghan said, her voice desperate now. Because they're all jealous, all bitter, all trying to bring me down. Everyone, Kelly asked. Your father, your sister, your former friends, your former colleagues, your former staff members, everyone who's ever worked with you. They're all lying, and you're the only one telling the truth. Yes, Meghan said, but the word came out as barely a whisper. Listen to yourself, Kelly said. Just listen to what you're saying. Everyone else is the problem. Everyone else is lying. Everyone else is jealous. Don't you see how that sounds? Meghan stood there, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. For the first time in the entire interview, she seemed genuinely lost for words. This interview is over, she said finally, her voice barely audible. I'm leaving. That's probably for the best, Kelly said, sitting back down in her chair. Thank you for your time. Meghan walked toward the exit, her heels clicking loudly. On the studio floor, she paused at the edge of the stage and turned back one last time. You'll regret this, she said, pointing at Kelly. You'll regret attacking me like this. People will see what you really are. People just saw what we both really are, Kelly replied calmly. And they can decide for themselves. With that, Meghan turned and walked off the stage, leaving Kelly alone under the bright studio lights. The audience sat in stunned silence for several seconds before a few people began to clap. Then more joined in until the entire studio was applauding Kelly's handling of the situation. Kelly looked directly into the camera, her composure completely restored. Well, that was certainly unexpected, she said with a slight smile. Sometimes the most important conversations are the most difficult ones. The cameras kept rolling as Kelly wrapped up the show. But everyone in the studio knew they had just witnessed something unprecedented, a moment when careful media training collided with genuine accountability, and the result was explosive. What did you think of this incredible confrontation? Was Kelly right to push for answers, or did she go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more unbelievable celebrity moments that you won't see anywhere else.